ass and chew bubble gum, and we ain't got no bubble gum. We have been 25-6 the past 3 weeks. That's 80.6% win rate. That is absolutely unheard of. We're back this week. Follow the Action is the name of the show. We're live right now on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you name it, we're live on it. You can download our podcast. It's been downloaded in over 50 countries, all 50 states. And from what I hear, about 75 different planets in the universe have downloaded Follow the Action. Get it on Apple or Spotify. Also go on our YouTube channel. You can get Follow the Action. All of our videos are on it. Let's get right down to it. The guys responsible for being 80.6% win rate the last 3 weeks. That's absolutely ridiculous. No one can say anything close to that. So let's start with fighting out of Philadelphia. He is the Philly Godfather, Mr. Steve Maltepes. Godfather, how you doing?
Doing great, man. But the man behind the plan, the mastermind when it comes to UFC is bagels. Delicious. Joey Delicious Bagels. He's the mastermind when it comes to UFC. Anytime I got any kind of doubt in my mind, I hit him up, and he secures me on which way to play the fights. So he's the man behind the plan. Joey Odessa, he's on fire.
It's time. It's time. It's bagel time. There's only one Joey O, Joey D, Joey Delicious. He is our guy. Joey, best combat sports handicapper in the world. How you doing, my friend?
What's up, JBL? I just got back from JBL. Made me change my shirt, everybody. He was teasing me about my shirt. He's wearing a Houston Oilers shirt, and he was breaking my balls about,
it's the Houston Oilers jersey of Tyler Rose. Earl Campbell, love you blue.
All right. No, it's cool.
You had a white T-shirt on. It looked horrible. You look great now.
You had me convinced that the ball breaking was just on the air. I didn't know that it was, for real. You know?
Well, let's get straight to the university. He represents the college kids. A lot of universities are shut down this year because of COVID, because of you name it. This guy isn't shut down. He gave us earlier on one of our free podcasts, Plus 365 Miami Heat to win the series. They won the series. He is Matt of the college kids. Matt, how you doing?
Doing great. We got NFL, NBA. We got all sports back now. College football's back. We just cashed our first game on college football, so we're ready for the NBA playoffs tonight and NFL tomorrow.
And we're about to get started on another UFC card. And to get started on UFC card, we missed him last week. We understand he was out with what we hear was COVID. So he is a supermodel. He is also Superman. They found his kryptonite down there in Costa Rica, but he shook it off. He is back now, and we're excited about it. Mr. Dave Mason from BetOnline. Dave, how you feeling?
A lot better. A little under the weather last week, so I was actually feeling all right, but I was just coughing up a lung, so I would have been absolutely a disaster to talk and listen to for the next hour. So I put in a white flag last week. Sorry about that, but I'm back.
Good thing about it is you got two lungs. So you cough up one, you still got one extra. That's why you're here. That's why you're our supermodel and our Superman. And Joey Odessa, I don't know if you can see that. It's making a very derogatory comment.
Yeah, I see.
Dave Mason. We got
it right backwards.
The rated PG show. Well, let's get started, gentlemen. We have a full UFC card tonight. A shout out to my buddy Kevin, who's listening in Bermuda, who is a follower of the Philly Godfather, as most of the people in the sports betting world are. Hope Kevin is enjoying it and getting good reception there. And he played golf this afternoon, so I hate you, Kevin. So we'll start with the first fight is a bantamweight matchup. It is Mr. Tyson Nam. He is the favorite. And just a reminder, these odds I got earlier today, no doubt they will all have changed. But just to give you a reference as to where they are, I will repeat them. Tyson Nam is minus 195, the favorite. His record in this bantamweight matchup is 19-11-1. He is 10-3 as far as KOs, TKOs, 1-0 as far as submissions. He's fought twice in 2020. He won both fights. He split those fights, I'm sorry. In June, he won by KO in the first round. In February, he lost by unanimous decision. He is fighting Mr. Jerome Rivera, who is a plus 168 dog. As of earlier today, he is a southpaw with a 10-2 record, 1-1 as far as KOs, TKOs. He has 6 submissions to his credit. He has been submitted one time. He has also fought 2 times in 2020. In August, where he won by unanimous decision, and in January, he won by a submission in the second round. The over-under stands at 2.5. It cost you -120 to bet the over. Dave, back from the abyss, where do you have money going?
Yeah, just give you a little update on the odds because it has dropped down a little bit. Nam is currently -177. The take back on Rivera is currently +152. That had to do with some sharp action that came in on Rivera at +170. 59% of the cash is on Nam. 52% of the bettors are on Rivera rather, and 60% on under 2.5. So sharp action on Rivera +170, and most of the cash is on Nam, but a little bit more bettors are on Rivera.
Joey, do you have something on this first fight?
Yeah, I looked at this fight and I like under here. I think one of two things is going to happen. I think Nam's either going to stretch this kid. I don't think this kid poses much of a threat on the feet against Nam. What concerns me is maybe he'll lay and pray, takes Nam down and holds him there for 3 rounds. We'll have a real good idea if that happens, what kind of referees we have for this event, whether they're going to stand the guys up right away. I mean, that's critical watching on these undercards to see what kind of officiating there is. We'll also get a good idea here. I want the bout to go under, but if the dog wins this fight, I think it's going to go a while. And if it does go a while, we're going to get a good indication of how the judges are scoring rounds, because Nam's traditionally a stand-up fighter. I mean, he can knock down buildings with his punches. And I don't know how Rivera's going to respond to that. Rivera's been knocked out once. No knockouts on Rivera's record. He does have 7 subs though, which makes me like the under. There's some guys there. I just think there's too much too soon for Rivera. But there are, like Dave said, I believe there's some sharp action on Rivera here against Nam. I just think that Nam's going to catch him at some point and hurt him real bad. And I like under. I bet under in this fight.
Joey, when you talk about what the judges are looking at as far as judging the fights, does that affect you, what you're looking at as far as live betting later in the card, just for all those watching out there?
Oh, sure, absolutely. I mean, I'm always, I'll just throw a tool out there. There's a site called MMADecisions.com, and they have pretty quick results as far as the judging at MMA Decisions. They've been around for a long time. I don't see any, I haven't seen any errors on them. They do fan polls too, which hindsight doesn't do anything for the score of the event, but it's a good gives you a good idea what these judges are looking at, if they differ, if they're split on rounds and things like that. I'm always, it's on my browser. I'm always looking at that site because I think that's critical. As, again, beating a dead horse, we don't know what these guys are watching sometimes. It's rough.
Yep. A Philly Godfather who I understand just by rumor and innuendo might be up in Philadelphia in the Pennsylvania area expanding his real estate empire. The man is going to own Pennsylvania by the time it's all done with. Not sure if any of that's true or not, but Philly Godfather, do you have anything on this fight?
I'd rather own a piece of the island down there in Costa Rica. I'd rather own where Dave Mason's at.
Right.
Nam's got 11 losses in his career. It's hard laying 2-1 on someone with 11 losses. He's 1-2 in the UFC. But like Joey said, the man can punch. Out of his 12 stoppages, I think 11 are by KO. Renegade Rivera, young kid, submission specialist, but he can't break an egg. And Nam has never been subbed. So, I haven't bet it, but I think Nam's the right side here. Lay the 170, 175, whatever Dave's got up on Bet Online. Go to Bet Online, bet it. I think Nam wins this fight.
A lean for Tyson Nam for the Philly Godfather. Matt, do you have anything on this fight?
Yeah, I actually like the over 2.5. I think it's going to go over. I'm looking at this fight, and in 31 professional fights, Nam's never gone and been submitted. And Rivera's a submission specialist and everything. And Rivera has the reach advantage by 4.5 inches. And I'm looking at this fight. Sharp money's on Rivera, I'm seeing, and the line's going down. So if Rivera has a shot to win this, it's going to have to go in scorecards, and all 3 of Nam's losses have gone into scorecards. So the way I'm seeing it is this fight's going to go over.
Wow, Joey, he's going against Odessa. What's
That's
going
all
on?
right. I'm traditionally bad for the record. I always start every card off in the negative. When I started off in the positive.
Stop. You're 80% the last 3 weeks. There's nothing bad.
80.6%.
There's nothing bad about being so delicious.
Those opening prelims are usually kryptonite for me, you know.
Jimmy
But
texted me and said, "I'm sorry we lost so much." I said, "Yeah, you almost lost a full bet out of every 5. That's just freaking terrible." You're right, Joey. You're just slow. Almost a full bet.
I think Tyson Nam will catch this kid. Plus, the other thing is, you know, this kid fighting in the octagon. I mean, coming in here inexperienced, you see a lot with those Tuesday night fights. All those Tuesday night fights go under. I mean, it's like you can't even bet them. It's like the favorite. If you want to win money, and you got more nerve than me, is to just bet those favorites on. Follow the money.
Follow the action.
Follow the money on Tuesday. Those line moves, they hold up weak. I mean, it's like picking cherries out there because they open with such bad numbers with these guys. You'll see that, Dave. You guys must be getting carried out on Tuesdays with parlays and shit, no? On the contender.
A little bit. I mean, we don't even take a whole lot of action on those contender series, but we've been doing all right on them,
Dave,
but there's definitely some sharp action coming in, but we do all right.
Dave,
Joey, average guys make average mistakes and they get caught.
Dave, Joey just insulted your bookmaker saying he's coming out with bad numbers on Tuesday night. What's going on there?
No, yeah, I'm telling you, if I bet their number first, I'll straighten it out for them.
Shape that number, baby.
I'm not knocking their bookmaker. I'm just saying it.
He just said he's coming out with bad numbers. Oh my God!
Joey's aggressive today. Aggressive.
Joey's going after everybody.
Being real, those numbers never move like they are now when I used to. And it's not that everybody's betting it, but I never had those favorites crossed. So if I could count on my hands how many times it happened in 10 years. And I could almost tell you the bouts, and I would happen to open the right side, correctly. But I mean, I'm not saying you guys aren't on the right side of those fights, but I'm just saying that some of those openers are,
Everyone listening out there, Bagels.
Joey, you look better in that shirt.
Oh yeah, back in black, baby.
Back in black. The next fight is a featherweight matchup. It is a 1.5 rounds. We have several of these today. Over under. Derek Minner, who had his UFC debut earlier this year, he lost in submission to Dawson. He is 24-11 as far as his total record. 1-2 as far as KOs, TKOs. 21 submissions to his credit out of his 24 victories. He is fighting someone who is having his UFC debut today. That is the Canadian, the Truth, they call him, TJ Laramie, who is 12-3, 7-2 as far as KOs, TKOs, 2-0 as far as submissions. He has won his last 4 fights. His last loss came in 2018 at first round KO by Morgan. UFC debut. Over-under stands at 1.5. It cost you -125 to bet the over. Dave, where do you have the money?
Yeah, current odds are Laramie -320. Take back on Minner is +270. A little update there. 73% of the money is on Laramie. 62% of the bets are Minner. 82% of the bets are on over 1.5. Nothing sharp. Nothing sharp here.
80% of the bets are on the over.
Yes, sir. Over 1.5. Nothing sharp here. Bet online.
Thank you. Joey, what do you have in this fight?
Well, he's a Canadian, so my bias there, natural bias. That Laramie is a Canadian guy. I saw a guy I respect bet the Canadian. Here's the thing, I wrote down initially when I was looking at this fight, I wrote down Stone Cold under, but I was looking for a 2.5. Minner's last 12 bouts since like 2017, I don't think he's even started round 3. I don't know how far back it goes, but the bout looks like an under to me, but under 1.5 is probably a good number. If you put a gun in my head, I'd say it goes under, but I didn't bet this fight.
And you didn't bet sides or totals either.
No, sir. No.
Billy Godfather, do you have something on this fight?
I'm not laying 3-1 on Laramie here. I mean, if anything, I'll take the dog plus 270 or 260, whatever it is. He's got a 3-inch reach advantage, and he's got 35 career fights. I would take a shot on the dog, John. Take a shot on the dog.
Yeah. Can't lay the price.
Yeah.
Can't lay it.
Lean on the dog on Minner at I think +270 is what I think what Dave said. And Matt, do you have something on this fight?
I'm not laying the number with Laramie. I think the value's on Minner here, but I didn't make a bet on it.
Nothing on that fight. Next fight is a bantamweight matchup. We're still on the pre-show. Andre Ewell is -220 as of earlier today. He is 16-6 as far as his record. He's a southpaw. They call him Mr. Highlight. He's 7-1 as far as KOs, TKOs, 4-3 as far as submissions. He had one fight in 2020 that was won by split decision in February. He is fighting Erwin Rivera, the Beast from Mexico. He is 10-5. Talking about Mr. Rivera, 5-2 as far as KOs, TKOs, 1-0 as far as submissions. He is a southpaw. He's had 2 fights in 2020, and he has split those 2 fights. It is winning his last fight in August by split decision. It's a bantamweight matchup, as I mentioned. The over/under stands at 2.5 rounds. It costs you a big -255 to bet the over. Dave, where do you have the money?
On Iwal, 89% of the cash is on him, 62% of the bettors are on him, 70% on the under, and we actually have some sharp action on it as well at about the -180 range. So it's going up. It's up to -245 right now. So the sharper action was at a better price, like -180, like I said.
Joy, do you have something on this fight?
Yeah, I bet. This Erwin Rivera is the kid from, he's from my neck of the woods in New York. I call it the 845. If you remember, we talked about this kid in the past. He's from Newburgh, New York area, which I think has had like the top 3 highest crime rates in the United States for a city of its size. It's a total fucking toilet. But but this kid, I mean, it's got every gang imaginable is down there, and this kid comes right out of that environment. If everybody had Erwin Rivera's heart in the UFC, every fight would probably go to the death. I mean, this kid, he's got the heart of a champion, but he's limited in skills. I bet Ewell here, but I mean, this Rivera, it's I mean, as a fan, I want this Rivera fighting for me. I think he's going to lose this fight, and it's unfortunate because that makes him 1-2 in the UFC. But this kid, I mean, and it's not like sentiment because like I have with the New York Jets. This kid is legitimately just this is the kind of kid, PG, you want to go into you want to go collect money with. He is fucking just, you know what I mean? This kid's a hardcore kid, but I think that, he's given up a lot of reach to Ewell, and I think Ewell's just technically better. But this Rivera, I mean, he's training. Last I heard, now I'm not positive, I thought he was training with the Burns brothers. Now, I can't confirm that. I don't know because this COVID stuff's got everybody all over the place. But this Rivera kid's a tough kid. And here I am almost talking myself out of batting Andre Ewell, rather. But I think Ewell is a little better than him. I think he'll beat him on the cards.
And Rivera did win his last fight in the UFC in August against Daisy by split decision, which we covered on this show. Philly Godfather, do you have anything on this fight?
Ewell has such a huge reach advantage. Even though both these guys have heavy hands, either one of these guys can knock each other out, and both guys don't like to go to the ground much, so it's going to be a big stand-up fight. I would love to take the dog here, except Ewell's a southpaw, and I tell people all the time, if 2 fighters are evenly matched or if someone's slightly better, I'll take the southpaw every time. Ewell's the right side here, but again, anything can happen.
As far as a boxing perspective, Philly Godfather, both southpaws here. However, southpaws don't face southpaws very much. Is that the thinking that you have here?
Yeah, well, the reach. It's the reach. It's the reach advantage. I mean, those punches are coming from different angles, and I think he's got an 8-inch reach.
8 inches, yeah.
Yeah, that's massive. So I mean, you can fake the jab, come back with the right hook. You can step around, and he's going to be boxing. And when you're the shorter fighter, it's so much harder to close the distance, especially when those punches are coming from opposite angles. Now, as a southpaw, you're used to fighting right-handed fighters. Now you got to fight a southpaw who's got an 8-inch reach. It's a tough job for him, man.
From the university, Matt, do you have something on this fight?
I like the under an Ewell here. I think Ewell, I know he's struggled a little bit, getting some momentum in the UFC. Every time he gets a win, he gets a loss. Every time he loses, he wins. It's been a back-and-forth thing, but we have 2 southpaws here, and Ewell's actually going up against some good competition, Nathaniel Wood and Vera. And these guys both have those heavy hands, like they said, and Ewell holds that 8-inch reach advantage. And this fight's going to take place on the feet, and it's going to be a solid scrap. So I think Ewell pulls it off. He uses his reach to his advantage. I think he ends up getting the better of Rivera in all the exchanges and earning the points. And I like the under, and I like Ewell here.
Under and Ewell. Let me put that down. From the university. So let me go to the next fight. Is a bantamweight matchup. It is Mr. Journey Newsom. He is 9-2, and he is the favorite in this. It's a pretty evenly matched up fight as far as the odds as of earlier today. Remind you, -125. 9-2 is Journey Newsom's record. He's 3-1 as far as KOs, TKOs, 3-0 as far as submissions. He had a no contest fight earlier this year in February. Before that, he lost to Ramos in December of 2019. However, before those two fights, he had won his previous 7. Randy Costa, this is very interesting, at least to me. I hope it is to you. He is 5-1. He is 5-0 as far as KOs. All KOs, all 5 of his victories have come in the first round. The longest he's gone in the first round is 2 minutes and 15 seconds. He has 1 loss on his record. That is by submission by the only person who took him into the second round. That was Brandon Davis. Took him in the second round back in April of 2019, submitted him at 112 in the second round. He's 5-1. As I mentioned, the over-under stands at 1.5. Minus 130 is what it cost you earlier today to bet that over. Dave, where do you have the money?
Yeah, quick update on the odds. Newsom is minus 126. Take back on Costas plus 106. 58% of the money's on Newsom. 52% of the bettors are on Newsom. 80% is on under 1.5. Currently paying plus 115. And we do have some sharp action on Costa plus 110.
Joey, did you take something with this apparent knockout specialist in Randy Costa on this fight?
Yeah, I bet Newsom. You said it. I mean, Costa's last 5 fights, he did have 1 round 2 fight in his UFC, but it was like a minute into it. So it's like 1-2, 1-1-1 in his 5 fights. I like Newsom here. I think Newsom can beat him. I thought it looked like an under bout, but what do you got there? 1.5, Dave?
1.5 under plus 115.
Yeah, plus 1. It's tough there. Because I figure if Newsom wins it, it probably goes over. But I bet Journey Newsom.
And you didn't touch the total, Joey?
Didn't touch the total, no.
Philly Godfather, do you have something on this fight?
It's tough betting against the Zohan. I mean, Costa's so busy as a fighter. Over his last 2 fights, it seems like he's throwing a bunch of punches. Man, but I got to go with Joey. I think Newsom's the right side here. There's some sharp money on Newsom. Some sharp guys I know that I respect in the industry, and I think Newsom's the right side. It's just hard betting against that kid. That kid's pretty busy, man, but Newsom's the right side.
His loss, Costa's loss, rather, it was to Brendan Davis, and to put it in perspective, he's 10-8, and he lost his last 2 bouts after he had beat Costa. I mean, so it's not like he lost to a guy that's on some sort of, that has any kind of momentum there. That's what kind of struck me over to the Newsom side. Yeah. Newsom, I think too, he tested. I think he had a no contest. I'm not positive.
Yeah, he failed the drug test. He failed the drug test. Yeah.
The weed, right? The
kid
that he smokes.
Yeah. He's just not that accurate, Joe. What bothers me about Newsom is he's not that accurate. He doesn't throw as much, but he's definitely the right side.
But when Brendan Davis beat that kid, what he beat him by? He rear naked choke round 2. I just think Newsom's the more polished guy. The more I think he's got more ways to win.
Yeah.
So the one loss he had, Joey, he lost to a guy who has about a 50-50 record. It looks like.
Yeah, which is not bad in the UFC. I mean, these guys, there's not a huge amount of fighters in each division. So a guy that's taking look at, a lot of guys have double-digit losses, and in fact, last week's card. The main event, the girl was she was 10-12-8 or something like that, and the undercard, the co-main event, double-digit losses. I mean, in this day and age, in MMA, Dana White had said last week, he said this is not, boxing. You don't see the 50-0s in MMA because there's so many different things and so many different variables. Hell, John Jones, just that freak, elbow against Matt Hamill put a loss on his record. I mean, everybody gets beat in MMA at some point. I don't think anybody could just run their career right through without getting. We look at George St. Pierre had the loss to Stare, but the best of the best, the GOATs, not they get long in the tooth, but it just doesn't happen. It's like the NFL team. How many NFL teams finish a season 17-0? It doesn't happen.
In boxing, we talk about styles make fights, but in UFC, there's so many different ways, like you said, to lose. I mean, on any given night, if someone catches you, submits you, someone can knock you out. I mean. It's just, no one goes undefeated like Joe said in the UFC.
Yeah. Matt, do you have something on this fight?
Wasn't my favorite fight, so I skipped it on this one. I mean, I think either of these guys have a shot to pull it out. It wasn't my favorite one on the board, but, I went with Joey Newsom. I'd have to say, if I had to choose, I pick Newsom.
Next fight is the first women's fight on the card. Is a bantamweight matchup. The only Australian on the card. They call her Jessica Rose Clark. She is 9-6. She is also the favorite in this fight. Earlier today, minus 220. She's 2-0 as far as KOs, TKOs. 2-0 as far as submissions. She has never been stopped herself. She has lost her last 2 fights, both last year in 2019. Her last win came against Paige Van Zandt by unanimous decision in January of 2018. She is fighting the dog in this fight, Sarah Alper, plus 180. She is 9-4. They call her Too Sweet. She is 2-0 as far as KOs, TKOs, 2-2 as far as submissions. She last fought August 2019. She has won her last 3 fights, so it's a bantamweight matchup, 2.5. It's the over/under total. Costs you a minus 355 as of earlier today to take the over in this fight. Dave, where do you have the money?
Yeah, current update on odds first. Clark is minus 205. Take back on Alpar is plus 175. 62% of the cash is on Clark. 77% of the bets are on Alpar. 75% is on under 2.5. Nothing sharp here at BetOnline.
Joy, do you have something on this fight?
Yeah, well, I don't, but I'm looking at this. I'm taking a real good look at this. There's a guy in the chat. I won't say his name, but he gives me pretty solid information, and he said that I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but he said that this Rose Clark has been training like at a campground, and that she had to see a shrink to see if she really wanted to keep on fighting. And I just think that's a huge, Jesus. I mean, he's told me other things too, but I mean, that's just a huge red flag to me. I don't think that, you should step in the octagon if you don't want to be there, or if you're not sure. I don't think this Alpar is all that good. Maybe she's a softball for this girl, but I can't bet the favorite. And if I was betting the favorite, I certainly would get off it. I don't think Alpar is very good. I think they got a common opponent. I didn't even really look closely at this fight. I didn't really, dig into it because I just wasn't, some of these women's fights of the lower tier women. Rose Clark is probably top 30 maybe in the UFC, in the MMA. She's in the lower half of the women's talent, and I would have to say that it'd be dog or pass for me here. But I'm not betting it. I'm trying not to bet it. I just, knowing the things that I know about Rose Clark, I'm taking a real good look at this Alpar during the card.
Billy Godfather, do you have something on this fight?
Yeah, Coach, I'm on the phone. That was just Coach calling
Coach?
me. Yeah, he loves Rosa Parks, and for that reason only, I'm betting the dog here. And that's the only reason why I'm betting. I don't know nothing about these 2 women fighters. I don't have to know. If you guys remember last week, he liked the other side of Eubanks, and it was a big plus 280 dog, if I'm not mistaken. And I didn't know nothing about that fight, and we took the dog because Coach was on the other side.
Fade the coach. So that was Coach
is banging these girls. I think Coach might be banging.
He said bet the favorite, so we all go big on the dog.
We shift to the dog. That's it.
I'm on the dog as well.
Because the coach.
Look, it wasn't my coach, but I'm glad that Coach is on Rosa Clark.
Listen, Coach is great at golf, but when it comes to UFC, you got to go the other way.
I like Alpar here. We've only seen
want
Clark.
you to know that we don't miss you.
We've only seen Clark here in the octagon once since 2018, and that was November, I believe, where she lost to, what was it? What was his name? Kianzad, I think it was, something like that. I don't know. But she's coming in clear-cut favorite, Clark here. But I think Alpar, she's coming off 3 wins. She's coming off an impressive win her last fight. She's one of those tricky southpaws with a strong left hand. I think she's going to spell some trouble for Clark here, and I think she's going to pull it out. Big dog.
Really good. Something else from Coach?
I had to hang up on him. I don't even want to talk about it.
Billy Godfather called me. He said, text us. He said, it's a long 5.5 hour road trip. I said, well, it could be worse. Coach could be with you. So the next fight is another women's matchup. We have the favorite here at minus 260 as of earlier today, Mara Buena Silva. She's from Brazil. She is 6-1 as far as her overall record. She is 1-0 on KOs, TKOs, 4-0 as far as submissions. She has never been stopped. Her last fight, she lost to Moraes in 2020 by unanimous decision. She won her last fight September 22nd of 2018. She is fighting Mara Romero Buela, who is 12-8 as far as her record. She is plus 220 as the underdog in this fight. She is from Mexico. She is 3-4 as far as submission, as far as KOs, TKOs, 4-2 as far as submissions. She has had 2 fights in 2020, and she has lost both, I believe, and she's lost 4 of her last 5. Her last win came in 2017. Dave, do you have anything on this fight?
Well, there's public money, but nothing sharp here. Bet online. 80% of the cash is on Silva. 51% of the bettors are on Silva, and 75% of the action is on under 2.5. And again, nothing too sharp here.
Joey, do you have something on this fight?
The dog there, she's from Italy, JBL. Flag's similar, but you're missing the crest there.
Oh, is it from Italy? I thought it was from Mexico.
Italy. Yeah, come on. It's like calling Greeks from France.
I got the flag wrong. I didn't get the person.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
I have no idea what she looks like. I just looked at the flag. It looked like
I picked my shots. I got to pick my shots with you. I changed my shirt. It was war before we got on the air. I picked my shots. But Burrell, the Italian, she lost 3 of her last 4. She lost 3 in a row, I believe. Decent competition, but her last fight against Courtney Casey got subbed real quick. I think it's Silva's a no-brainer here, but it's tough to weigh. What is it now, minus 275 or so? I know she opened pretty high.
Yeah, we got minus 260 currently.
I mean, sitting through some of these women's fights, I love MMA and I love women's MMA sometimes, and sometimes I don't. And this is one of those fights where I might not like it too much. It plays for a boring fight.
Did you take the Brazilian here, Joy?
No, I'm not going to lay that kind of price on her. No. She lost her last fight too, right? In March of 2020 against Moraes, which isn't a bad loss, but I can't do it. She came from that Dana White Contender Series. A lot of these people, you'll see that on these fights, like that Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. Like they're bringing those guys right into the UFC, and it's smart. I mean, it's I don't want to knock them, but it's cheap talent. Or lack of talent. They're bringing these guys in. It's like a feeder program, and it's perfect for the UFC, and that's why they could have so many of these cards like this. But Silva's a product of that Contender Series, and Barella's not. I mean, Barella's been in the UFC a bit. She's 11-8. I can't bet Barella. I want to root for Italy, but I can't. I don't think she's going to win.
Billy Godfather, do you have something on this fight?
Well, when I was a freshman in high school, I dated this girl. Her name was Maria Barella, and she talked about how good her mom's pasta was. And eventually I got there, ate some dinner, and it was store-bought gravy. It wasn't even homemade gravy. I mean, the pasta was horrible. It was horrible. And for that reason, I think the favorite wins here easily. Silva's the right side. She's got more pedigree. She's going to win this fight.
She was Mexican, right, Steve? She wasn't Italian. She was Mexican with an Italian name. But the flags are similar.
They're close.
JBL's just boiling right now. He's just like...
I can't believe it.
JBL could reach through the camera and choke me.
Viva la Italy, baby.
Country. This time I looked to the flag and just assumed it was Mexican flag.
Now we're assuming. We're assuming all of a sudden.
My apologies to our southern neighbors.
You're making up for Coach.
It could be worse. Coach could be here.
When you're from... I forgot.
I passed on this one. It's my least favorite fight in the card, maybe, or at least from the women's fights. So this was a pass for me.
All right, the next fight is a featherweight matchup, and I know this flag for sure. It's Bosnia and Herzegovina. How about that, Joey Delicious?
Yeah, she got me.
yeah, I really got you. He's the second biggest favorite on the card, Mirsad Bektik, I believe, who knows, minus 380. He's 13-3 as far as his record. He has lost 3 of his last 5 fights. He's 6-2 as far as KOs, TKOs, 3-0 as far as submissions. fought once in 2020, a fight that I believe we covered here. Dan Ige lost to Dan Ige. It's a featherweight matchup. He's fighting Damon Jackson. They call him the Leech for good reasons. He's 17-3-1. Of those 17 wins, 13 has come by submissions. He's 13-1 as far as submissions, 3-2 as far as KOs, TKOs. However, he has won 6 of his last 7 fights. But this is the craziest knockout I think I've ever seen. In May of 2019, the Russian Khabulev knocked him out in 10 seconds with a knee. And when he was knocked out, it was stiff.
PFL, right? PFL.
Oh my God, yeah, the PFL. You got to see the highlight on YouTube. It's unbelievable. It goes in. The only thing landed in the whole fight was a flying knee, and he was asleep for some time. Featherweight matchup, 2.5 rounds is the over/under. It's almost evenly split, minus 105 of what cost you earlier to bet the over. Dave, where do you have the money?
67% of the cash is on Bektik, and 69% of the bettors are on Jackson. Unders getting bet. 86% of the bettors are on under 2.5. Nothing sharp here. Bektik is currently minus 350, and the take back on Jackson is plus 285.
Joy, do you have something on this fight?
No, but Dave, you don't sound sick. I think Dave called in I think he had a date or something.
That was a week ago, man. I've been on quarantine. I've been eating vitamins.
He had the sniffles.
The vitamins will kill you.
It was
It's already late. It's like 2 o'clock in Costa Rica.
Well, last week I sound like dog shit. Believe me.
Suspect.
Joy, Dr. Odessa, do you have anything on this fight?
Doctor. No, I tell you, Bektik, you talk about records. This kid's 17-3, but he had his one shot at the UFC. The dog I'm talking about, a shot at the UFC back years ago, and I'm looking here, 2014. 6 years, took him 6 years to get back in the UFC. But you see what happens when these guys aren't in the UFC. We talked about it earlier. Look at that record, 17-3. Like, that's an all-star record. That's the kind of record you expect a champion to have. And the dog's not a champion here. I mean, he's coming over from PFL. He spent some time in LFA. His other loss was to a kid that's in the UFC now. I don't recall it. Kevin Aguilar. I'm not touching this fight. Again, you got a guy that he's getting a second chance at the UFC, and he's in tough. The number's high enough to keep me off him. Anyway, so no, nothing with this fight. I'm not touching it.
Really, Godfather?
Dave, what were the numbers on the fight not to go the distance? Do you know? The under?
Oh, boy.
The 80% you said?
Let me. On the under?
Yeah, it was
on the under. It's 86% on the under.
I kind of like the fight not to go the distance. I mean, Jackson always has stamina problems. I think only 2 of his 22 fights have gone the distance. He's definitely not the right side. I can't bet this fight. Man, I would like to bet the fight. I ain't betting this fight, John. I ain't betting this fight.
But it's safe to say that you would lean toward not going the distance.
Yeah, I don't think this fight's going to go the distance.
Matt, do you have something on this fight?
Well, yeah, I do actually. Beck is on a 2-fight skid where he lost, whatever, and he's desperate for a win here, and he's going to get it. All right, he's won his. I know he had a difficult time as of late, but that's because of his competition. It's been pretty tough. So now he's versing Jackson, who's a late check, and Jackson, like Philly Godfather said, only 2 of his fights have gone the distance. So I actually like what's his name? Beck in the under here. I just can't see him winning this fight, Jackson. Jackson, like you said, a 17-3 record, Joey said, and it's just not reflective of how good he really is. Beck is going to get him here, and it's going to go under. Beck and under. Those are 2 plays.
So would you bet the combined bet of Bektik under, or would you bet 2 separate bets as far as Bektik and also the under?
I bet it separately. That's the way I see it. I bet it separately. I think his stamina is an issue for this guy, Jackson. I just think he's going to get knocked. He's going to get taken out, finished.
And Philly Godfather, did you get another call from somebody that was a coach?
Just keep rolling, John. I'm getting tired of all these locks that he's giving me in the UFC. Jesus.
Oh, Jesus.
The next match, whatever it is a flyweight matchup. Jordan Espinoza is 15-7. It is a pretty even odds as of earlier today, -112 to take Jordan Espinoza. David Dvorak is -108, so it's pretty much a toss-up as far as earlier today, the odds. 15-7 as far as Espinoza, 2-0, KOs, TKOs, 7 submissions, but he's been submitted 4 times himself. Espinoza has had 2 fights in 2020. He split those fights, winning in June, losing in January. Dvorak is 18-3. 8-1 as far as KOs, TKOs. He is from Czechoslovakia. They call him the Undertaker. 7-0 as far as KOs, TKOs. He is on a 14-fight win streak. His last loss was in 2012. Fought once in 2020, earlier in March, and he won that fight. The over-under stands at 2.5. Cost you -235 as of earlier today to bet the over in this fight. Dave, where do you have the money?
It's pretty split. 54% of cash is on Espinoza, 59% of the bettors on Dvorak. Under 70% is on under 2.5. We did take some sharp action at Espinoza at a better price. He's currently -115. So we got hit with some sharp money at +105.
Joy, do you have something on this fight?
Yeah, I bet under. I bet under in this fight. I went under 2.5 plus 205 in this fight. Wait, how much did you say was on the under, Dave?
70%. Yeah, 70%.
Yeah, I mean, I just think this about screams under. I wrote it down with 2 different color inks on the under there. If you can see that. So I bet under. I liked under from the first time I took a look at this fight. This Espinoza, there are some guys that I thought had a decent opinion on Espinoza. The only guy that Espinoza beat was that Mark De La Rosa. And you remember him because it's the husband and wife or whatever that fought on the same card, and he's just De La Rosa. His win is like, if I'm a fighter and I'm fighting at flyweight, I want to fight Mark De La Rosa because he's just not. Some guys win and some guys losing. De La Rosa doesn't win.
Philly Godfather, you have something on this fight?
I was loving Dvorak. 18-3 record, hasn't lost since 2012. Lands right around 50% of his 4.47 strikes per minute. And then coach called, and he's on the same side, so I'm ripping up that ticket. I'm betting Espinoza. That's it.
I'm looking at something here, Coach. Or not Coach. See, he got me calling you Coach. Why did I have written down that this kid lost to Taha? I wrote something wrong down here on my sheet, and it's contagious, JBO. It's coming from flags to fighters.
Yeah, Espinoza's the more aggressive fighter, Joe. I mean, he lands 5.49 blows per minute. He lands 60% of them. While he's better offensively. He's better defensively. He should win this. He should win this fight, especially now that coach likes the other side.
Who's coach like? You said
Dvorak.
Oh, really?
Yep, go big on Espinoza. Matt, do you have something on this?
I didn't until Coach called, so now I'm on Espinoza.
Hey, Coach, put that down as a note. All righty. Next fight is a middleweight matchup. It is Kevin Holland at -270. He is the favorite, obviously, 18-5 as far as his record. He's 9-0 KOs, TKOs, 6-2 as far as submissions. He is fighting the dentist from England, Darren Stewart, who's 12-5, 7-0 KOs, TKOs, 1-2 as far as submissions. Fought twice in 2020, beating our guy Coconut Bombs in his last fight in August, Mark Patola. Over-under is at 2.5. It cost you -165 to bet the over. Dave, where do you have the money?
Let's see, 74% of the cash on Hollins, 58% of the bettors are on Stewart, 75% under 2.5. It seems like we talk about this Holland guy every other week. Long rangey guy, 7-inch reach advantage. So yeah, the bettors are on Holland.
And what was the percentage on Holland, Dave?
74% of cash and 58% of the bettors are on. Actually, 74% of the cash is on Holland, 58% of the bettors are on Stewart.
Thank you. And Joy, you have something on this fight?
I bet under in this fight too. This Stewart, I can't get over this Stewart's lost to that Fabinski, I guess the Polish kid at Cage Warriors. They had a fight in Cage Warriors instead of having it in the UFC, and Stewart really stunk it up there. And I haven't, it's tough for me to get past that. He did beat that Maki Patolo, the Hawaiian kid, in his last fight, and now he's back in on, he was a quick rebound from that fight. Talking about Stewart, but I think this bout goes under. I don't know what's up with Stewart. That fight against Babinski was just. It stunk. And then Fabinski went out and lost to Muniz in round one in the UFC. So I can't get past that loss. I'll live and die with it. I think that Holland is a win this fight. I didn't bet Holland. If it goes down, I will. But I did bet under.
Philly Godfather, do you have something?
Yeah, after Holland's last loss, he's looked actually pretty sharp. He's got the reach advantage. Stewart can punch a little bit, and you can never count him out. But the price is a little too high for me at -275. But it's high for a reason. They're trying to keep you off Holland here. Holland's the right side. I think it goes. I think it goes the distance.
By the way, two fights in 2020, both they won by KO. Matt, do you have something in this fight?
Stewart to me has no consistency. Holland comes in here with a 7-inch reach advantage, and he's the favorite. I think you can see why. 3-inch height advantage as well. I know Stewart can strike a little bit, but Holland is going to use his range very well. And I can't see Stewart coming in and winning this fight. Holland's going to be very effective in this fight. He's going to show him why he's the favorite. I took a Holland.
You took Holland. Next fight is a women's matchup, a strawweight matchup. Mackenzie Dern, who is 8-1 record. She has no knockouts to her credit, has not been knocked out herself. She's 5-0 as far as submissions. She has the distinction against Hannah Cyphers earlier this year in May of 2020, the first ever woman to win by a knee bar submission in the UFC history, fighting Rhonda Marcos, who's basically 500. She's last 10 fights are 5-5-1. She's 10-9-1 overall. No knockouts. Has not been dropped herself as far as KOs, TKOs. 4-2 as far as submissions. She's from Canada. 2.5 is the over/under. -140 as of earlier today is what it cost you to bet the over on this. Dave, where do you have the money?
77% of the cash and 70% of the bettors are on Dern. We do have some sharp action on Marcos at about +170. She's currently +157. 57% of the action is on under 2.5. That Marcos, I was doing a little research on this earlier, and 14 fights in the UFC, and she doesn't have a 2-fight win streak nor a 2-fight losing streak. So she just flip-flops every fight. She wins, she loses, she wins, she loses. Lost her last fight. So if that trend stays true, she'll win tonight. But we'll see. The sharps are on her, but public's on the other side. It's a pretty big decision for us, too.
Both fighters have a common opponent in Amanda Ribas, who both have lost to Dern by unanimous decision, as well as Marcos. Joey, do you have something on the fight?
Yeah, I bet Dern. I think Dern will. Will beat her. I think she'll probably tap her. I didn't touch the total, but I like Mackenzie Dern here. Something that one of these guys in chat had said to me, and it's pretty reliable, is Marcos hadn't crossed the border. She normally trains in, I guess, Michigan. I don't know. Again, this is what I heard, and she hadn't been there because the border has been closed down up there. So for what it's worth, I think Mackenzie Dern. She came back too early when she took that loss. I think she's pretty slick, man. I think that she'll beat. I think she'll beat Marcos.
Yo, Joe, did Marcos beat Angela Hill?
I don't know. I believe you might be
her.
right there, but again, the Angela Hill of old, the current Angela Hill, they're just not. Again, Hill lost her last fight anyway, but I'll tell you, hang on. Marcos is 10-8. These women's fights again, they're so inconsistent. But I think she beat Hill a couple years ago. Yeah, she did. She beat her in. She beat her in March of 2019. But then she turned around, and lost to Claudia Gadelha, Amanda Ribas, and she beat a 9-7 Ashley Yoder. You know what I mean? I just don't. It's interesting what David said about her not losing 2 in a row, and she, I guess she'd be due against Mackenzie Dern here, but I think it's kind of a softball for Dern. I really don't see it. I don't see Dern losing this fight. I don't see it. I think she's just that much better.
Billy Godfather, do you agree?
Her record is slightly deceiving at 10-8. Dave, what's the rounds? What are the rounds on this fight?
2.5 over -150.
I would go over 2.5. I'm not sure about his side. I respect Joey's opinion immensely. There's some sharp money on the dog. I think Marca, she's a crafty veteran. I think she can survive in there. I would go over 2.5.
Matt, do you have something on this?
I don't have nothing, but Marcus has beaten some solid competition, and she's big at dog at plus 150, and I think she has a shot. And I think this line should be probably like plus 130, so I nibbled on it for some value, but other than that, it's nothing serious for us.
When you say you nibble on the dog?
Yeah, threw a couple peanuts.
Gotcha. Let's put that down. Next fight is a light heavyweight matchup. It is Mr. Johnny Walker. He is 17-5 from Brazil, 14-3 as far as KOs, TKOs, 2-1 as far as submissions. He was minus 130 as the favorite as of earlier today. He has lost his last 2. Before that, he won 9 straight. He's fighting Ryan Spahn, who is 18-5. He calls himself, I guess other people do too, Superman. 4-2 as far as KOs, TKOs, 11-1 as far as submissions. He has won his last 8 fights. His last loss was in July of 2017. 1.5 is the round total. It is a plus 105 to bet the over. Dave, where do you have the money?
Currently, 81% of the cash is on Walker, and 62% of the bettors on Walker too. So it's going to be a pretty big decision for us. 62% of the action is on under 1.5. Currently minus 130.
That is Mr. Dave Mason for Bet Online. He's recovering from COVID, and I'm glad he's with us. And Joy, do you have something on this fight?
Circle that one for the book, Dave. Ryan Spann for the money. 4-0 in the UFC, 1-0, came over from the contender, 1-0 on the contender series, came over. Johnny Walker was this big, you remember when Walker was winning before he dropped his last 2 to Kirillov and Corey Anderson, Corey Anderson's now over in Bellator. Apparently they didn't see an upside for keeping him signed, even though he did beat this Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker comes out, does all that breakdance and stuff. It's a fan favorite, Brazilian. But this Ryan Spann, and I've been wrong with this Ryan Spann before. I just think Ryan Spann beats him. I think Ryan Spann is I just think Ryan Spann beats him. I'm not going to sit here and talk about, X's and O's of it. I just think that Walker makes enough mistakes that Spann will capitalize on. I think Spann beats him.
Philly Godfather?
I like the way Walker boxes. I mean, he's very accurate when he throws his shots. But if it gets on the ground, Spann's going to beat him. I agree with Joey. Eventually, they're going to have to hit the floor.
Smarter.
Yeah, and Spann. I mean, Walker's going to look good early, and then as the fight goes on, once it hits the floor, I think he's done.
Matt?
Yeah, we saw Johnny Walker, like Joey said, riding that big high when he was rolling with 9 straight wins. He had 3 straight knockouts, I think, start off the UFC career. And I think Ryan Spann's now riding that same high. He's on an 8-fight win streak, 4 UFC wins in a row, and 6 finishes. And I know Walker's very dynamic, and he holds a lot of speed and power and confidence, but Spann's more comfortable on the ground. And I think this fight's going to end up going on the ground, but Spann can back himself on his feet as well. I like Spann a little bit here.
Especially if Walker exerts a lot of energy with all those punches. I mean, Spann can lay back like a snake in the in the field waiting for him. And as soon as he starts opening his mouth and gets a little tired, you're going to see Spann take him to the ground and take him out.
Next fight is the biggest favorite on the card. That is our man Khamzat Chimaev. He is from Sweden. I said incorrectly before. He is from Russia. He's from Sweden. He's 8-0. He's 4-0 as far as KOs, TKOs. 4-0 also as far as submissions. He is, get these records, 83-1. He's outlanded his opponents in his 2 fights in the UFC in significant strikes. 162-2 in total strikes. He will be the fastest UFC competitor to 3 wins in 66 days if he wins this fight. Johnny Walker, who we just talked about, was the previous record holder at 105 days. As I said, Khamzat is minus 470, at least earlier today. Fighting Gerald Meerschaert, who's plus 365, 31-13, a southpaw. His last 10, he has been 5-5. The over/under is 1.5. Cost you minus 105 to bet the over. Dave, where do you have the money?
The cash is on the hype train. Chimaev, 87% of the cash is on him. Actually, 70% of the bettors are on the underdog there, and that's just like I've always said. When you ever get those big chalk, the that Publix is betting those little lottery tickets. They're betting them at plus 385 right now. Mearshart, 61% of the action is on over 1.5, despite Chimaev's quick victories a couple months ago. So yeah, you add up all that and the heavy juice, and we have a small need on the dog here. But even though the majority of the bettors are on him.
Joy, do you have something on this fight?
No, but I think Kazmat beats him. It's been a lot. That number opened much higher. It opened like minus 650, right, Dave? And they bet Gerald Mearshart down.
Actually, we opened minus 500, then it got bet up, then it went back down.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, I think that Kazmat's the right side, and everybody's praising this guy. Everybody that trains with him, everybody that sees him train, it says he's the next coming of Khabib. It's a little early to say that, but Gerald Mearshart with his 31-13 record. Mearshart's going to beat guys that are, aren't legit. But I think this problem here is I think Kazmat is legit. I think Kazmat's going to wreck him.
Chimaev has only had 3 fights even going to the second round. Philly Godfather, would you test anything on this fight?
Yeah, the number's kind of high for me. But Mearshart, he's got a respectable record. I think 70% of his fights end in submission. But he's not going to sub this guy out. Chimaev's so much of a better fighter. If you're going to bet the fight, it's kind of correlated, Chimaev and under, but I'm not touching this fight.
Yeah, Mearshart's been stopped 10 times in his 13 losses.
Yeah.
So, for what that's worth.
Yeah.
Matt, are you touching this fight?
Well, Coach, before we came on, told me, texted me, he was like, I love Mearshart tonight. So right away when he said that, I went and I bet Kazmat.
You laid the 450? That's a lot. I'm 450.
Yeah, I bet him. I bet Kazmat. I think he's going to win this fight, just simply because Coach is on the other side.
Fade the coach.
Max limits, please.
No matter what we do.
You guys are so mean.
This is Blackie for pool. Max limits across the board.
Poor Coach.
Max limits across the board, Philly Godfather?
You weren't supposed to hear
that. All right, we are to the, make sure I didn't miss a fight there. No, I did not. We are to the semi-main event. We have got Mr. Donald Cowboy Cerrone, plus 125, a huge fan favorite. He's a favorite of mine. 36-15 is his record. He is tied for the most fights in UFC history at 36. His 18 bonus, he says, through all those UFC events. 23 wins, most ever in UFC history. However, he has lost his last 4. And 5 of the last, he's 4-8, his last 12. 5 of those have been by KO, TKO. Nico Price is the favorite of this, minus 145, 14-4. He has lost 3 of his last 5 fights, but he is 10-3 as far as KOs, TKOs, 3-1 as far as submissions. The over-under stands at 1.5, minus 105. Earlier today, at least, is what it cost you to bet the over. Dave, where do you have the money?
It's pretty split. 52% of the cash is on Price. 59% of the bettors are on Cerrone. 60% is on the over 1.5, which is currently minus 110. We did take some sharp action on Cowboy at a better price at about plus 135. So yeah, despite his 4-loss win streak, Price is good, but he's definitely a much needed step down in competition for Cowboy. So sharp action is on Cowboy.
Joy, you going to go against the fan favorite here, Cowboy Cerrone?
I agree with Dave. I'm sitting here and I'm waiting it out a little bit, but I think that I think Cowboy can win this fight. Comes into this fight, I just think Cowboy's a better fighter. He did lose his last 4. He lost to Ferguson, Gaethje, and McGregor. I called it earlier in the week. I said it's murderer's row. You know what I mean? Pettis is the other loss that he's got, but Jesus Christ, McGregor, everybody knows McGregor. Gaethje's fighting for a title, and Ferguson fought for a title, and everybody was delusional and thought Ferguson would beat Khabib. So those losses really don't add up that much. But Price got that win over Vic. All right, Vic loses everybody that that gets him to stand. He stands right in front of everybody just to get hit. He did have a war with Luque, but Luque stretched him, and he beat an over-the-hill Tim Means. Now, is he going to beat another washed Cerrone? I don't know, but I don't think that I don't think Nico Price should be favored here. I just don't. Now, I think it's I think they're betting Price, and I think you need a head exam and delay a price on Price. I just as bad as Cerrone has looked, he's looked really bad to talent.
Do you like Cerrone enough to take him on this fight, Joy?
Yeah, there's a real good chance. If I don't get my teeth kicked in these early fights, particularly in the one where I laid, Andre Ewell, I do believe I'll bet Cowboys.
So if you have house money, Joe, if you got house money, you're going to bet
house money. But yeah, I think that Cerrone can win this fight, and he's got, Price is tough. Price is going to come after him right away. But I tell you what, if Cerrone, the first 2-3 minutes, if Cerrone gets any kind of momentum going, I think Cerrone coasts in this fight. I think he beats him. I think Cerrone's a better fighter.
House money, Philly Godfather. Are you betting on house money here? Are you taking the Cowboy?
Cerrone's looking kind of old lately, looking kind of slow, but he has almost 3 times as many fights as Price, and he's fought the much better competition, like Joey said. The right side's the dog here, plus 120 on Cowboy. That's the right side here. I'll be surprised if Price beats him because he hasn't fought the fighters that Cerrone has fought. So I like Cowboy here.
Matt, are you on the legend, the Cowboy?
I'm not on Cowboy. I'm actually on Nico here, Nico Price. Everyone's talking about, in my opinion, how, Cowboys has more experience. He's better technical striker. He's a different class, this, that. But I think there's a reason Price is favored here. He's coming in at what, minus 140, Dave?
Currently 136.
130, yeah, so right there. And I think he's going to be a madman coming into this. He's a motivated madman coming into the octagon with ferocious knockout ability and that killer instinct. And Cowboy's the type of guy to entertain him and take him to war. And I think Price is actually going to come out on top. I don't think that helps Cowboy here. I think Price is going to be a victor at the end.
Dave, what can you get Cowboy by submission? What's that price?
Oh boy, give me a minute. I got to scramble through
sorry.
the props here.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Sorry, brother. Yeah, because Coach just hit me up, and I'm starting to get worried about that Cowboy ticket.
So Cerrone by submission is plus 600, or he could do inside the distance at plus 220.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Dave.
You taking that, Philly Godfather, or just interested?
Man, if I take it, I'll give it out on Twitter for free. I'll let you guys know.
Awesome.
Coach scares the crap out of me whenever he sends me a text, man. I'm not going to lie. When it comes to UFC. But when it comes to golf, he gave out Patrick Reed. Didn't he have a hole-in-one?
Yep.
Yeah, so he gave him out. He's unstoppable. We clown on him in UFC, but when it comes to golf, he's unstoppable.
He's a monster.
He's the best, yeah.
He knows his stuff. As far as golf, not UFC. Not UFC.
The last time he bet on something, he broke your leg.
Yeah. Well, I heard he got picked on as a kid when he came to fighting, so that's why, he's a little indecisive when it comes to the UFC.
We're to the main event, so we're going to recap. I know we're running just a couple minutes over, but we're going to recap as far as the hour, top of the hour, try to finish in an hour. Tons of fights, though, today, so we're going to recap the fight card and tell you where everybody was betting. Start off with the first fight, Tyson Nam versus Jerome Rivera. We had sharp action at plus 170 on Rivera. We had a split as far as the under and over. Matt taking the over, Joey taking the under. The Philly Godfather leaned, as does the public, toward Tyson Nam. Next fight is Derek Minner versus TJ Laramie. Laramie in his UFC debut. Philly Godfather leans toward Minner. Third fight is the Andre Ewell fight against Erwin Rivera. We have Matt and Joy and also 89% of cash. Sharp action at minus 180, all on Andre Ewell. Matt is also taking the under on this fight. Next fight is bantamweight matchup, Journey Newsom versus Randy Costa. Sharp money, according to Dave, who is our bet online person, as sharp money is going on Randy Costa. Philly Godfather said he's heard some sharp money as well going on Journey Newsom. Joy and the Philly Godfather took Journey Newsom. Next fight is a bantamweight women's fight, Jessica Rose Clark against Sarah Alper. Coach is liking Jessica Clark, so everybody went on Sarah Alper because one thing we do here is fade the coach. No sharp action. Next fight, another women's fight, Silva versus Barella, and 80% of the cash is on Silva. Joey liked Silva, but said the price was too big. Philly Godfather also liked Silva, worried about the price. The next fight is a matchup with a featherweight, Bektic from Bosnia-Herzegovina against Damon Jackson. We have Matt, the Philly Godfather, says he's leaning that it doesn't go the distance. Matt likes Bektic here. 76% of the public is also, as far as cash, is on Bektic. 86% of the public is on the under, as is Matt. The next fight is Espinoza versus Vorak. Sharp money was taking Espinoza at plus 105. The Philly Godfather likes Espinoza here. Joey likes the under. And we are fading the coach again because he likes Vorak. So Matt's on the other side of coach. Middleweight matchup, Kevin Holland versus Darren Stewart, the dentist from England. 74% of the cash was on Kevin Holland. Matt also liked Kevin Holland. Joey had the under here. Dern versus Marcos is the next matchup. Sharp money was taking Marcos at plus 170. Matt also likes the plus 170. Philly Godfather liked the over. Joey liked the favorite here, Mackenzie Dern. So he and Matt have a conflict between the two. Johnny Walker, Ryan Spann, light heavyweight matchup next. 81% of the cash was on Johnny Walker. 66% of the public was on the under. We had Joey, Philly Godfather, and Matt all agreed on Ryan Spann. Next fight is our guy Chimaev. 87% of the cash is on the biggest favorite on the card at minus 470, what it was earlier. That's fluctuated a bit. And we didn't have much action. Most people believe that Chimaev, Matt said he's taking it. Coach like Mearshot, so back up the truck on Chimaev. Next fight, Cowboy Cerrone. Sharp was taking Cerrone at plus 135. Joey and the Philly Godfather liked the legend himself, the Cowboy. And Matt is going with Nico Price at minus 145. That will take us to the main event, which is Colby Covington, a welterweight matchup against Tyron Woodley. These guys do not like each other. Covington is 15-2, 2-1 as far as KOs, TKOs, 5-1 as far as submissions. His last loss was to Usman. It was a KO in the 5th round. He won his previous 7. Talking about Covington. Tyron Woodley has been erratic to say the least. 19-5-1, 7-1 as far as KOs, TKOs, 5-0 as far as submissions. The chosen one has lost his last 2, also losing a fight to Usman. It's a welterweight matchup going 5 rounds. The over/under is at 4.5. Cost you minus 210 to bet the over. Dave, where do you have the money?
53% of the cash is on Woodley. 74% of the bettors are on Woodley. So you add that up at 53% of the cash at currently plus 285. Oh, wow, that's going up. And it's going to be a big decision for us. So the house is going to be Covington pretty big. 83% of the action on under 4.5. Nothing sharp, I don't believe, here at BetOnline.
Joey, do you have something on the main event?
No, I'm looking for reasons to bet Woodley here. I talked about it when I was talking to Morency earlier in the week. I had said that, Covington he opened like minus 250 range, Dave? Is that right?
250 hit. Yep, spot on.
Yeah, and now he's up to 350. I saw his high. He was 400 some spot.
We're at 350. That's high for. I know Woodley looked like garbage, but
that's a tough number to weigh.
That's against a guy who was a champ about 2 years ago. I don't know.
And this is personal for these guys. Woodley with the whole Black Lives Matter thing, Covington with the one's way to the left and one's way to the right with politics, and both of them are outspoken. So I think that whoever loses this, I don't see these guys touching gloves. I don't see these guys hugging after rounds. You're gonna have none of that for as long as this thing lasts. I know we're running overtime here, so I don't want to get too long in the tooth, but Covington has not been a 4-1 favorite since that high of a favorite since he fought that Barbarino, to put it in perspective odds wise. I think that I think the number's too high. If I'm a value guy, I'm definitely betting Woodley because, look, Covington will probably outwork him. But Woodley, you say, can Woodley hurt? How does Woodley beat Covington? He's going to have to hurt Covington. Now, you say, well, maybe Covington can't be hurt. Well, Usman did a real good job of hurting Covington in that 5th round. You got Covington with a different training camp. You got him getting knocked out, stopped in his last fight. And, and he's out and about. He was just recently in photo ops with Trump and other people. And those people that he was in the photo ops with aren't fighting on this card. I just think that, Covington's out and about, and Woodley's kind of, he's keeping himself sheltered. He's not saying too much at the press conference. Every time they asked him a question, he responded with some version of Black Lives Matter. He would say, also, he just kept repeating that phrase. I think that, both of these guys are going in with a ton of pressure on their back. Maybe more so Covington, because Covington is the more outspoken of them. And, I just, the bottom line is I'm going to talk myself into betting Woodley in this fight. If Woodley's shot and he loses, then I take it on the chin. But I just don't think that Covington belongs 4-1 over him. I don't see it. Numbers, the number, that's the point of the numbers, to make the other side look enticing. And they got me on Woodley. I'm hoping it goes up.
Philly Godfather?
I mean, Woodley definitely has some great takedown defense, and he can punch a little bit.
Yeah.
But you don't know which one's going to show up. I mean, the last 2 fights, he's got his ass kicked. He's gotten beaten up. It looks like he don't have that fighting spirit anymore, and the price definitely is too high.
Oh!
I mean, Covington should be a 2-1 favorite here. Anything at -400 is too high, but it's too high for a reason. They want you to nibble on Woodley. I'm not betting the fight, but Covington's the right side. He's going to win this fight.
Joy, what are you screaming about?
I'm screaming at Tyson Nam. Jesus, he just put what's his name on his ass, and they just stopped the fight. Who's Nam fighting?
Circles out a winner.
Yeah, we cashed that under. Sorry, I mean, we were on opposite sides, so it's no fun to celebrate without friends,
We took Nam. Didn't we take Nam in that fight?
No, it's not. I'm serious. I mean, what good is winning if you can't win with people? You know what I mean? And it was looking like an over, too. I mean, they were just, the dog was actually standing with him for a bit. It was surprising.
You have something on the main event?
What's that?
I was asking Matt if he had something on the main event.
The way I see it is, all right, so Woodley hasn't performed well in his last 2 fights. He's supposed to have this great defense, this knockout power, be able to hit a little bit, but he hasn't been able to show it in his last 2 fights. I think it was against Burns and Usman, and I'm looking at Covington. Covington doesn't let up. He's going to go at you for 5 rounds. He's going to keep on coming. He's going to come in with wrestling combinations, and he's going to, I don't know, man. Woodley is going to need to come with that power. He's going to need to really show up for this fight. He hasn't shown up for the last 2 fights. It's a tough one. I don't think Cub should be a 4-1 favorite, but I'm not betting on Woodley. So it's if the price was lower, I didn't get it on time at open 250, I probably would have put my money on Covington, but it's a tough one. I don't have nothing here.
Well, there you have it, folks. That is Follow the Action. The guys have been 25-6 the last 3 weeks. As you've seen, we've cashed one bet earlier already. So we're sorry about running a little bit over on our time. As a way to make it up, I always try to hit these guys up for something free. Philly Godfather, we got a lot of action going on tonight with NBA, college football, NFL. Can you give us something free?
We're going tomorrow. NFL. Fly, Eagles, fly, baby. That Fugazi Rams team that beat that Cowboys team, forget about it. Fly, Eagles, fly.
I need my
That's
Lord
right.
back. Matt,
That's
can we
right.
get something free from you?
Don't the
Well,
Jets
I
fly
went
too?
under.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
We went under in the Denver Broncos Pittsburgh Steelers game on the Follow the Money podcast that drops usually on Wednesday, and that number got crushed. It's at 40.5, if I'm not mistaken. But free move would probably be Broncos +7, 7.5, depending on where you shop. If you can get Broncos +7.5 in a low-scoring, tight defensive battle, we think that's the move.
Bet SMU too, John. SMU tonight. Lay the 13.5. Lay the 14. We'll give you a team from Texas.
Yes, God bless Texas. SMU from Highland Park, the only team ever got the death penalty. Damn
No
it.
love for New York? No New York love? No Giants? No Jets?
I like the Giants this week a little bit. Nibble a little bit on the Giants.
I do not like the Jets, Joey. Your Jets, Might get crushed again.
The Jets or the Mets with helmets.
Don't.
I'm in the barrel. My Jets were horrible last week. I admit I'm in the barrel. I mean, I picked the Jets, and man, they stunk it up.
Joe, I got a question for you though. Last week you gave us the Jets. You didn't put it on your personal entry form in the circuit contest. This week, the selection that you gave us, did you put it on your personal side as well? Or are you trying to get to us or what? What's going on?
The guy wanted to put the Giants in there, and I said you can't put the Giants. He said, well, then you can't put the Jets. And I said, all right, no New York teams, because I knew the Giants were dead last week, but not the Jets. I thought would catch some wind, and they just did. And that's the story.
But you didn't put it on your own personal pool.
I couldn't. I was splitting it with this guy, and he said Giants, and I said Jets, and I said no Giants, and he said, well, then no Jets, and I had no Jets, but I was rooting for the Jets. Shit, I almost made the mistake of wearing my Revis jersey down to the sports book, and I'm so glad I didn't, because God, it would have been embarrassing.
What are they grabbing this week? Who are they playing this week? San Fran?
No, Kansas City Chiefs. Last week he bet on the worst team. This week he's betting on betting against the best team.
I'm telling you, all that money, all that public money on those Chiefs, drove it up above at 7, 8.5. I took 8.5.
You took the Chargers. You put the Chargers on the entry.
Yeah, Chargers. I'm going to rebound this week. You watch. Chargers outright. Now, I'm not counting that side.
Oh, where's Coach at? Where's Coach at?
Hey, how could I go wrong with that? I mean, now that I think about it, Coach, I don't know if Mahomes can carry Coach on his back.
Oh.
Coach is freaking out right now.
That's a lot of weight.
Oh.
Coach is big. Coach looks like Coach ain't Coach.
Hey, what?
Coach looks like Coach ain't Coach.
Take the Celtics, too. Take Boston. Boston's got to win one. Take the Celtics.
I like the under.
There you have it. That is Follow the Action. Thank you very much for joining us. Sorry we ran a little bit over time. We tried to finish within 1 hour, but we are firing like crazy, and these guys have absolutely been killing it. So thank you very much for joining us. Be sure and look at our YouTube. Follow the Action also. All kinds of videos up. Have a great night tonight, and good luck on all of your bets, whether they be UFC, NBA, NFL. These guys are the best. That's why our podcast is the fastest growing in the world. Follow the Action. Thank you very much for joining us.